Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about high dose methotrexate. Now I want to tell you all, it's a disclaimer. I'm not a hemato-oncologist. I just wanted to make this video because we need to start talking about high dose methotrexate and know how to manage it. So I'm just going to go into the concepts of how to manage this and not so much the technical details. But this is an important clinical entity, and I just wanted to raise more awareness. And if you're at a facility where high-dose methotrexate is being administered, you want to be mindful of this. So now let's start off by talking about the mechanism of action of methotrexate itself. What it does is that it inhibits dihydrofolate reductase, which was supposed to convert DUMP, which is deoxyuridine monophosphate, to thymidine monophosphate, and that was supposed to go make DNA, and now you're inhibiting this, so you're inhibiting DNA synthesis, and that's why this is an S phase specific drug, right? So you're stopping DNA synthesis, and that's what is causing your cell to die, right? Now what is high dose methotrexate? High dose methotrexate means that you're giving more than 500 mg per meter square of body surface area. Okay, some definitions will define it as more than 1 gram per meter square, but generally it's considered more than 500 milligrams per meter square. Now, why would you administer high dose methotrexate, right? So one thing to remember is that just the way your body transports folate into your cells, there is a reduced folate carrier protein on the surface of your cells. It's pretty ubiquitous. Now the thing about this is that it transports both folate and methotrexate in an ATP dependent manner. Now what happens when you increase methotrexate a lot in your system, like you're giving high dose methotrexate, it sort of creates a gradient that then you won't need ATP, like it becomes more of a diffusion from high to low area along the gradient, right? So that is one of the reasons why you're administering high dose methotrexate, and the other reason is because it crosses the blood-brain barrier. So you will see high dose methotrexate being used for primary CNS lymphoma, which involves the brain, right? And then there's ALL and Burkitt, which have a high propensity to involve the brain, right? And then you've got your leptomeningeal mets, right? Meningeal mets, and osteosarcoma also uses high dose methotrexate. Okay, and one of the reasons why is also like sometimes to overcome resistance mechanisms and stuff like that. So this is why we would administer high dose methotrexate. Now let's talk about leucovorin and why it does not interfere with high dose methotrexate. And even though your end goal is to deliver more methotrexate to cancer cells, you should always treat them with leucovorin, and I'll tell you why. So inside the cell, like when methotrexate enters the cell, there is an enzyme called polyl polyglutamate synthase. It's abbreviated as FPS. This enzyme sort of polyglutamates methotrexate and makes it bulky and sticky, and this actually increases methotrexate's affinity for dihydrofolate reductase, right? Affinity for dihydrofolate reductase. Now, the thing with leucovorin is that it does not get um, polyglutamated. It just bypasses this dihydrofolate reductase, and it's sort of like, because it's reduced folate, it directly helps harmonise magnesium, DTMP, and it overcomes that blockage which is there in methotrexate. Now, the thing about cancer cells is that they are very, very good at polyglutamating methotrexate, right? So the affinity for dihydrofolate reductase is very high inside a cancer cells. And now, because normal cells are not very good at polyglutamating methotrexate, leucovorin is very good at becoming a competitive inhibitor of methotrexate in normal cells, but not so much in cancer cells. So that means that the therapeutic effect of methotrexate in cancer cells is good, but it's also good at um, sort of protecting your normal cells from the effects of methotrexate, right? So that is why it's very important to give leucovorin. So if you talk about the main side effects of methotrexate, it's going to be mucositis, right? And hematotoxicity and myelosuppression, hematotox, and hepatotoxicity. Now, if you give leucovorin, the dosage of which is 10 to 20 milligram per body surface area, and that is decided based on, there's a nomogram which I'm not going to go into because those are very technical details, only relevant if you're actually hands-on treating a patient, but I do encourage you to look at it. So there's a nomogram which tells you the dosage of the leucovorin to be given for a particular patient, for a particular level of methotrexate in the body, right? So if you give methotrexate within 24 hours of giving, if you give leucovorin within 24 hours of giving methotrexate, you almost always never have mucositis and myelosuppression, hematotoxicity. But hepatotoxicity will still happen, like even with leucovorin, like there is going to be some elevation of transaminases. But leucovorin is a magic drug to sort of circumvent the side effects of methotrexate within normal cells. Okay. Why is methotrexate toxicity dangerous, right? It causes mortality in patients through acute kidney injury and acute tubular necrosis and such things, because methotrexate is famous for crystalline nephropathy. Okay, it crystallizes. So what do you want to do for that? So if you look at the structure of methotrexate, which is a complex one, it's got like a bunch of rings and benzene rings over here, and then there are going to be two COOH groups. Now, what happens when you put a COOH in an alkaline medium, right? So it gives out the H plus and becomes COO minus, right? H plus. So this is the ionized form of methotrexate, and this does not clump up and crystallize, right? If it is in a non-ionized form, it gets crystallized. If it is in an ionized form, it doesn't get crystallized, and that is why it is very important to maintain the urine pH more than 7 in someone who is getting treated with methotrexate. This can be done with the half normal saline plus 1 ampule of bicarb, sodium bicarb, right? And another alternative would be to give acetazolamide, which causes bicarb wasting, right? Wasting in the urine, and both of these can help alkalinize your urine. And another important thing that you want to do with methotrexate is you want to keep the urine output good, right? You want to keep the urine output more than let's say 3 liters per day. Okay. So that is one of the important things. And also, like like almost like 6 hours before you're going to give somebody high dose methotrexate, you want to hydrate them. Hydrate aggressively and keep that urine output good, keep it alkaline, and that is how you encourage the excretion of methotrexate from your body, right, from the patient's body. Now there is another, there's also like high flux hemodialysis, which is an important one, that can also be helpful in removal of methotrexate from the body. Now, one thing that I have to discuss is this drug called Glucarpidase. This is an enzyme that acts on methotrexate directly, and it converts it into non-toxic substances, right? So this is a really good drug, but it is very, very expensive. So it's only reserved for accidental toxicity in patients who already have a bad kidney function. But it is very, very expensive. It costs somewhere like $40,000 or something like that, if I'm not wrong. So I think that if your insurance doesn't pay for it, it could pretty much bankrupt a patient. So Glucarpidase is one of those things which is talked about a lot, but it is only reserved for certain patients who are eligible for it. Okay, now one thing is that glucarpidase can also act on leucovorin. So if you're going to give glucarpidase, you should wait for at least 2 hours before giving leucovorin, and leucovorin has to be administered within 24 hours, right? And when you're putting a patient on methotrexate, you want to regularly monitor serum methotrexate levels. You want to monitor serum creatinine, make sure that the kidneys are functioning nice and normal. Creatinine, right? And another thing is that while most of the methotrexate is filtered, some amount of it gets secreted by a pump. There are some drugs like proton pump inhibitors and sulfonamides and ciprofloxacin, NSAIDs. These are the ones that compete with this with methotrexate for excretion. So these are also some potential drug interactions, right? And you should be careful not to administer nephrotoxic drugs like cisplatin and aminoglycosides and all of those, the ones which are known to cause nephrotoxicities. You don't want to administer them along with methotrexate. Like, there are a bunch of drug interactions that you have to be mindful of. So this was a very introductory, right? Because there is it doesn't get talked about enough, and it's important to have protocols in place at institutions where high dose methotrexate is being administered. So I encourage you to look into this. Thank you so much, you guys, for listening. I hope that this was helpful. If you have any video ideas for me that you want me to specifically target, you can definitely put them in the comments, and I will try and make. There was a request for a DIC video, like disseminated intravascular coagulation. I've been meaning to do it, but I never got around to it. I will eventually, but I figured that because there are already a lot of videos on DIC already up, I usually try to target videos that haven't been, extensively covered by other channels on YouTube. But in any case, I will definitely try and make one on DIC as well. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that this was helpful and informative, and that y'all got a good overview of high dose methotrexate and what goes into managing it. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you guys next time.